Welcome to episode 50 of the Bass Shed podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. On the episode is Howard Ulyate. Howard is a pickup builder. He builds Ulyate pickups, builds and designs. I guess design is the right word. He had a pickup that I saw on Reverb a few years back, reverb.com. And I've always been fascinated by his pickups since that one specifically. And I've been following him for a few years now and just kind of keeping my eye on what he's up to. And I had a great time being able to connect with him about that, about how he builds his pickups and about pickup construction in general. D. Lake and Basses. That's right. Time for the regularly scheduled D. Lake and Basses plug. Dan Lakin, co-founder of Lakeland Basses, founder/co-founder. He had a team there of Lakeland Basses, is now doing D. Lake and Basses. Check out dlakeandbasses.com. Dan is doing the bass giveaway. You can enter to win the bass of your dreams. First place prize, however you want to say that. I'm just stumbling all over words today. First place is your custom bass. You work with Dan and his design team to build the bass of your dreams. You can go to www.dlakeandbasses to find out more details and enter. The aim of the basshed.com is to learn from the legends. So like I transcribe all these guys. I teach the artistry and style of bass legends and how we can absorb that into our own playing. For all the people that have reached out to me about private lessons, there's now a tab on the website to schedule a private lesson, or more importantly, just email me. Shoot me an email, ryan@thebasshed.com. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you'd like to be working on and how we can connect the dots there. Shoot me an email and let's talk about it. I get some regularly asked things a lot about bass fills and pentatonics. I get that a lot, actually. So shoot me an email if you're interested in that or something else, jazz improvisation, things related to the upright bass, things related to the electric bass. Shoot me an email at ryan@thebasshed.com and we can talk about some of these things, or go to thebasshed.com, click on the private lessons tab, and you can schedule a lesson with a free kind of consultation-esque free trial one to see if we work well together, because that's really important that the teacher and student work well together. And hit me up. Let me know. Ryan@thebasshed.com. lemurmusic.com. Everything you need for the double bass can be found at lemurmusic.com. Basses, bows, accessories, practice materials, practice aids, sheet music. Go to lemurmusic.com for everything you need for the double bass. As I mentioned, Howard Ulyate is my guest on the show, and I just had some questions I wanted to know about pickup construction, and not only what he's doing specifically at Ulyate pickups, but just fundamentals of pickup design and construction, because there's some stuff I just don't know. I know the obvious things, like obviously I know the difference between a P-bass pickup and a jazz pickup and a Music Man and, active electronics and all that stuff. But when it got into like really particular things like information, I guess, or understanding of the actual magnets in the pickup or windings, I don't know a lot about that stuff. And I got to hear it. I got to hear it from the source. The dude who's building them would describe it to me. And so I know I learned a lot by talking with Howard. It's really, really informative. And I love how just casual and laid back and how easy it was to just like I didn't feel stupid by not knowing some of these things. Like Howard was very gracious to let me feel comfortable about like, dude, I have no idea what's going on with some of these things. And he really broke it down and informed me about some of this stuff. And hopefully it's beneficial to the listeners as well. I thought it was great. So this is my talk with Howard. And Howard's gonna break it down. He's gonna tell us about pickups. Here's my talk with Howard Ulyate. Hey man, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I got hip to your pickups maybe a couple years ago on Reverb. I saw a Music Man pickup you had that had the big magnets in the front and then like the dual coils. More like a jazz pickup in the back for the back half of it. And I got really interested in it, and I've kind of been following your pickups ever since.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I checked out your website, and you model a lot of what you're doing after 60s Fender stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
I grew up playing a 65 jazz bass that I had as a little kid.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound weird and arrogant, but I think that old jazz bass is the best sounding bass ever made.
Yeah.
And I want everything to just kind of sound like that.
Okay. I don't think too many people are going to disagree with you.
And more so than sound, there's this other element, this like uncompressed quality to that old jazz bass. Like the harder you hit that bass, the louder the pickups get. It never compressed. And so that's kind of what I want for my pickups. That's
Okay. And then at what point did you get in to start to build them? And then did you deconstruct the 60s pickup and like dig in and see what was going on? And then you're like, all right, I'm going to do that.
Well, I was building instruments.
Okay.
And I was buying pickups.
Yeah.
And I don't really consider myself too much of a cheapskate, but I just didn't want to pay for pickups.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I had a buddy, back in the late 80s that was making pickups.
Okay.
On a sewing machine, and I would watch him do it, and I thought it kind of stuck with me. I'm like, I could figure that out.
Yeah.
And I just started. I dove in. I went. Google. I was Googling every night. Any forum, any article, any information about pickup winding I could find. I'd read about it. I'd go nuts, and I bought a tiny little winding machine and started buying materials and started making my own pickups, and I just fell in love with it.
Okay.
And then I realized like I'm a horrible guitar builder.
Were you focusing on guitars or basses when you were building instruments?
Both.
Okay.
Cool. I just think it was too loud. The machine is loud. It's dusty and it takes too long. I can get pickups done in a day.
Okay.
Guitar would take me a month.
Yeah. Right. That's a long time. Did you have a team or was it just you?
Just me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's always been, yeah.
So walk me through, I'm not like a huge gear guy. I've gotten into it more, but so what are we looking at? What are the components of the pickup? You got the magnet and you got the winding, right? Those are the two major parts. And then what are the differences within that? Winding them hotter, winding them not as hot?
There's a lot of,
what are the variables?
From those two ingredients, there's a lot of factors.
Okay.
In terms of what can affect the sound of a pickup. The magnet, what it's made out of. It could be an Alnico magnet or a ceramic magnet.
Okay.
From within those two groups, there's several different qualities or there's several different kinds of Alnico magnets.
Yeah.
The Fender used a lot of Alnico 5 magnets. Sure. Because, I guess you could say it's like, Alnico is aluminum, nickel, cobalt, and something else.
Okay.
Iron. And it's different ratios of that mixture, which makes for a different magnet strength, which will make for a different sound. Interesting.
And now when you buy an Alnico 5, that's a standardized mixture of those 5 elements?
It's one standardized mixture, and it's the one that a lot.
Yeah.
They all used Alnico 2 magnets in a lot of their guitars, but mainly was Alnico 5. So sure. I use that a lot, but I've experimented with Alnico 8 magnets, which is a newer magnet. Okay. I use that more. And Alnico 2, which is kind of a lower magnetic strength, which makes for a kind of a mellower sound.
Okay. And so that number with the Alnico, that responds or refers to the magnet strength or the mixture of the blend of the elements?
Both.
Okay.
Both. And generally, as I understand it, you start at 2 and it goes all the way up to I think they have 9, Alnico 9. Now. Okay. And yes, the higher up you go, the stronger the magnetic pull.
Okay, so why 5? Why do you think 5 has become such like the standard? Is because Fender used it on so many basses and that just
Probably.
Became the thing?
Yeah, I imagine yes, because that's what we to use an analogy, like when Star Wars came out, I was 7.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was just like at that time in my life when I was really impressionable. Right. And the movie came along and it imprinted on me. And now that's all I think about.
Sure.
When you're young and you're hearing like if you're young, young guy in the 90s or the 80s and you were hearing Will Lee on David Letterman, or if you were hearing Marcus Miller, playing Miles Davis, you would go, you went crazy for those guys' bass sound.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Went crazy. And it was because they were playing mainly Fender or Fender, made in the spirit of Fender.
Inspired by Fenders. Yeah.
But not all, those are just two guys. I mean, like literally everybody played Fender.
Sure.
Bass.
That was the bass. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course there's things, but so much of it was Fender bass.
Sure.
And that's kind of how we've been kind of imprinted, from early on ages.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those classic sounds, and even on recordings, the further you go back, like those are the sounds you're going to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are classic sounds, which is always funny to me that, like cars and guitars and basses, like everybody wants the vintage thing, but only in those two worlds. No one wants like a cell phone from 20 years ago, or like the oldest version of a cell phone. But it's always like guitars and pickups and amps that everybody likes the original stuff, which, Do you have a big vintage gear collection? Are you a big vintage guy?
No, when in the 90s, in my 20s, when I had more disposable income, living at home, I was more interested in doing things like that. But I've kind of gotten out of it, and I've got a lot of basses sitting around here, and I feel guilty with all that I do have.
Yeah,
and the vintage market today is not what it was back in the 90s.
Sure,
and a lot of those old instruments have found their homes.
Yeah,
and finding like a 62 jazz bass now, I'd be really wary of it because so many people would buy parts,
right,
and kind of assemble their own 62 jazz bass. And I'm not saying everybody's out to get you, but I mean, I see a lot of what people say are an old jazz bass or an old bass, and it just doesn't look right.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like parts, and then maybe it was routed at one time and it's filled with Bondo.
Yeah. Right.
It's just, it's in some ways, it's kind of, we've passed the renaissance of collectible 60s instruments, 50s and 60s Fenders and Gibsons and things like that.
Right.
They found their homes, you know?
Yeah.
They're like finding the next Monet.
Right.
They're all owned.
Yeah. Right. They're not still out there being,
I mean, there's
traded.
barn finds, but you got to really work at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell young people that come to me and, that are crazy for old instruments, I tell them, don't worry about that. Don't obsess over finding an old bass or guitar or amp. Just find something that you like.
Sure.
And play that.
Right.
Now, the other side of it, my older friends that have old basses, I tell them all, you just hang on to it.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? In other words, if you're not down the rabbit hole, just don't go.
Yeah. Don't start.
Right. Because really instruments being made today and pickups are as good as the old ones, if not better.
Sure.
They perfected it.
Yeah.
Being made overseas and here.
Right.
So many great out there.
Out of all the basses you own, how many have you made? How many are your originals?
The basses that I made, I made about 15 basses, and I've probably got about 3 or 4 of them here. Okay. And they weren't that great. They're not that big. They're okay.
What don't you like about your own basses?
Probably that, I had this idea in my head on how nice they were going to come out.
Sure. So it was an expectation thing.
Yeah, my expectation. Okay. I want to make a Fodera quality, Carl Thompson quality instrument.
Sure.
And they just, after a while, I get so frustrated. I'm like, okay, this sanding part is good enough. Let's just move on.
Right.
Because I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to sand anymore. I don't want to sand on this neck for another 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good enough. Like, this is fine. Yeah. It plays all right.
And then a month, I'm like, gosh darn it. I should have spent more time on it.
Man, that seems like so much work, like getting all the body contours correct. And I don't even know how many hours of sanding that would be if you're hand sanding it all. and doing all that and like fret finishing and all that stuff. That just seems so daunting.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guys that are really good at that stuff are worth their weight in gold.
Sure. Did you ever do luthier training? Did you study with anybody, or was it just kind of Google University?
But in I want to say 88 or 89, I was a teenager and I was taking my bass to get repaired by this guy named Doc Patillo, who was in Fountain Valley, California.
Okay.
And, he was a nice enough guy, kind of funny guy. And one day he called me. He said, "Do you want to come learn how to do this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because I love taking my bass apart and wanting to know parts. I mean, it was just out of the blue. I wasn't looking. I kind of fell into it, and it was really awesome of him to take that chance on me because he was looking for somebody, and he's like, you seem like a kid that doesn't get high, And, and I'm like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So I worked for him. I worked for him for about 7 years, maybe.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he taught me a lot.
Okay.
Doc Patillo, the guitar doctor. He really taught me a lot.
Is Doc still around? Is he still doing things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Valley.
Okay.
The 55, take the 405 south and get off on Euclid.
Yeah. Okay.
You're in LA, right?
Yeah, I'm in LA.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many parts of LA. Like, I don't remember them all. Like, I'm in Venice.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Well,
I lived in Venice for
a month. When? How long ago?
2004.
Okay, maybe it wasn't what it is now. Now it's turned into its own little thing. Even since the pandemic, I remember reading this statistic a few weeks ago. I think since the pandemic, like the homeless population has gone up 52% just in Venice, and I know it's gone up a lot in Los Angeles and probably nationally, but Venice is particularly bad with that.
Well, there was always a lot of homeless people in Venice. Always.
Yeah.
Even, but I imagine, it's probably grown.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it's grown. And like, because Santa Monica is just north of us and they're their own city. So they like push out all their homeless because of their taxes and stuff. And so the homeless are either going to go south to Venice or north to the Palisades. The Palisades is too bougie, so they're not going to go there. The Palisades is going to kick them out too. So Venice is like safe, and they just congregate on the boardwalk.
Sure,
with their drum circles. Yeah,
and if I was homeless, I'd want to live in Venice too.
There's worse spots to post up for sure.
You can live downtown LA.
Yeah, I mean this is downtown, but with an ocean, like less skyscrapers and an ocean.
It's paradise.
Yeah, it's not bad. Paradise. Yeah. I mean, it beats New York.
Beats New York, where you freeze to death. Winter.
Right. Yeah.
That's a real tough problem, and I don't think we're going to solve that one today.
No, we're not. I don't think we're going to get to that by the end of the podcast here.
Yeah.
So what? So you're using Alnico 5s to go back to pickups?
Yes, I do. I use a lot of Alnico 5.
And then what is your winding process? Like, and does the wire you wind the pickup with have a big impact on the sound?
Yes, huge impact. And I just to name the number, it's AWG 42 wire.
AWG 42.
Yes, American Wire Gauge, I think is what AWG stands for.
Okay.
And then 40 gauge, which is very, very small.
Okay.
It's as thin as your hair.
Okay.
And the thick, you can go with thinner wire or thicker wire depending on the sound and what you're doing. Fender used a lot of 42 wire. So that's kind of where I started winding pickups. I just kind of looked at what other people were doing and just thought, that seems like a good safe spot to begin with.
Do you think Fender did that for cost-effective reasons? Is the 42 wire relatively inexpensive, or was it a sonic decision?
I think it had to have been a sonic decision.
Okay.
Because a real difference in price between 43, 42, 44. It's all pretty much the same price.
Okay.
You can put a lot of wire around a magnet, a lot of 42 gauge wire, and get a good hot output pickup without having it be too big.
Yeah.
because the thicker the wire, you have to put more on there, and then the pickup gets bigger.
Yeah.
So there's these, logistical considerations that need to be made. It's the perfect balance between size and sound.
Okay.
And you can get a good strong output without having it, be this big.
Right.
I think the first Charlie Christian style pickups were wound with I think it was 38 gauge wire.
Okay.
Huge. And those pickups were, if this is like a Fender size,
yeah,
the Charlie Christian winding is triple that size.
Right. For the sake of the audio listeners, you're holding up a Strat style pickup. That's what that looks like. This is, what is that?
Actually, a pickup I made for a Telecaster bass.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it is essentially a Strat pickup, but bigger, and you can see it's only got 4 pulls.
Yeah.
4.
Right. Okay. I see that now. I was looking at just the size of the pickup.
But yeah, this is essentially a Strat pickup.
Yeah.
And to wind this with, thicker wire, it would be bigger. It would be bigger.
But now you have some space there. You have some space there from where the wire is, and you have like the little lip on the plastic right there.
Here?
Yeah. So why not wind it a little tighter to fill up some of that space?
Well, this needs to be covered with string afterwards.
Okay. Like just straight up string?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I don't think I have any. Oh. This is a pickup I wound. This is a Telecaster pickup.
Okay.
And you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Get that string in there?
Yeah.
Does that help? Does that make it?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it well before that too.
Okay, well, I'll turn that off then. You can see that string.
Yeah.
There.
Okay, and then that fills up that gap.
And it protects the wire, because this wire is real fragile. It needs to be protected.
And then, so to go back to that P-bass pickup you just showed me, the pickups on that are not just circles; they're more kind of ovals.
This is a magnet that I had made up.
Okay.
I call it magnet because it kind of looks like a Tic Tac breath mint.
Yeah, it does.
Normally, hold on. This is actually the bobbin for a 6-string, half of a 6-string dual coil that I'm making.
Okay.
And this has the more traditional Fender style magnets.
Sure. Yeah.
This is more traditional. Guys like this.
What is their how would you gauge the versus having one bigger magnet per string or the 2 per string? What are the sonic differences that someone would be looking at there? Because it seems to me the bigger magnet is covering all the space, whereas like the 2 smaller magnets, you're losing that gap. And so when the string vibrates, you're getting like both ends of it, but you're not getting the in the middle.
There is something to be said for that. And I really kind of learned about it with using this magnet.
Okay.
Because as you can see, it's essentially what I did is I took this, I was looking at this late at night and I thought, what if I had the middle part filled in?
Yeah, we're talking about the 6-string magnet. So you're talking,
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if this part here was just one big magnet, I basically came up with this.
Yeah. That makes more sense to me.
So this, and what I learned is that this magnet does have a lot of these qualities of the 2 magnet per string,
okay,
more traditional jazz bass, but this has a little bit more punch and attack to it.
Okay, because you're getting the whole span of the string vibrating.
My theory is that because there's a magnet directly under the string.
Yes. Okay. So you're getting attack and vibration.
Correct.
Right.
Where this going to have a nice attack to it, but it's going to be more like an old jazz bass attack. It's going to be more like Marcus Miller.
Sure.
Or more like Dusty Hill.
Okay. Yeah. Every time I think of Marcus, I just think of that active sound though, because after he had his bass redone with the Sadowski pre. Yeah. So like I think of a very active-y sound every time I think of Marcus Miller, even though he played, I think that original bass was a 77 jazz. Yeah.
I know what you mean. He definitely has that active sound. If you go to some of the older stuff like Miles Davis, Man with the Horn.
Yeah, it's a great record. And also, like, I was just talking about that record with the trumpet player I played with over the weekend. Like, Miles was responsible for smooth jazz. Like, that is that's exactly where that record was headed.
Yeah, you're right.
So he did it again. Like he changed music again.
Yeah.
Fantastic record.
Miles Davis was a genius.
Yeah.
He was a genius. And I love the way he played.
Yeah, me too. Do you come from a jazz background?
No, I'm more of a rock and roll.
Okay.
I was very rebellious as a child. So, rebellious yet unambitious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just you're definitely going to be a musician then, of some sort. You know.
And I started playing really early. In clubs.
Okay. How old were you?
I was 17 when I started playing in clubs.
Yeah, me too. That was like I wasn't even old enough to get in.
Yeah. Yet somehow we did.
Yeah, exactly. I had to convince my mom to let me go do a gig. Is it a bar? I'm like, no, I don't think so.
No, it's for 4 nights, but
Yeah, right. It's 9 to 2, but it's not a bar.
No, I don't. It's a something. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's a prayer meeting.
Yeah, that's right. No, I mean, I love jazz, and Jocko was one of my earliest influences. Like when I was 6, somebody brought over Portamentary.
Yep.
Weather Report, and just like it was the first like bass solo I ever heard.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was just like, "What is this?
Yeah.
What is this?" He sounded like it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
It just blew, and I still think about Jocko every day.
I got into him after already hearing Wooten. So I had heard him after Wooten. Like I heard Wooten's Show of Hands record, and then I was going back, and that's when I pick up Jocko's, famous self-titled. I'm like, okay, cool. And there was no historical context. I was 16 or something. I didn't understand the lineage of it all yet.
Sure.
Then I started to understand, more. I think listening to guys before Jocko's put him into context a lot better than starting with the guys after him who had already absorbed. If you listen to Duck Dunn and then you listen to Jocko, you can understand Jocko a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yes. Everything he was doing.
You have to listen to a lot of Motown.
Yeah.
Tower.
Yeah.
Rocco playing all those 16th notes. That's where Jocko got that from.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I've even been on like talk bass forums before, and there's been guys talking about like who kind of started the fingerstyle funk thing. And I don't really know. Because then there's John Paul Jones with Led Zeppelin. Yeah. He had a lot of that stuff kind of happening. It maybe didn't have the same type of fire or syncopations as some of the Jocko stuff, but it was all there. So it's always, those things are curious. Like there's no he started it thing. But those two guys are definitely the, Rocco and Jocko are the dudes. I can't think of another.
James Jamerson. You have to give a lot to him. He may not invent. He made so many records.
Right. They were so 16th notey for sure. Yeah. Like some of the, like the kind of later 60s stuff, like, man, he's really, really going for it to the point of like, if I played that stuff now, they'd all think I was overplaying, they'd all tell me to stop, but it works. Like everything worked. Like the line construction, the note choice, is fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I think he is the best of all time, hands down. Jamerson. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, the instrument was so young.
Yeah.
And he was doing that, like he didn't have anybody to have kind of like learned that thing from. It was just him doing it.
That's right. I mean, bass lines before that were walking bass lines in jazz.
Yeah. Or like the early Motown stuff on Upright. So it's like when the electric bass hit and all of a sudden he's doing that kind of thing. I do think he's the best of all time. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
What pickups are you working on right now?
Well, I've got, this is a part of 4. I have these. This is going to be a set of, where is it?
Okay.
Dual coil 6-string.
Okay.
There's the neck and the bridge pickups. These will go to, to make a dual coil.
So now talk to me about the science behind the dual coil. Were we just talking about more magnet to get
more magnet, 2 coils, and you can wire them together so that they are hum canceling.
Okay.
A lot of guys like.
Sure. And then will you also be able to split that? Will I? Okay.
You'd be able to run it series, split, and parallel.
Yeah.
Which are
for each one, for the neck and then also for the bridge.
Correct.
Yeah, that's cool. You get a lot of options.
You have a lot of options.
Yeah. That's a lot of toggles on the bass too.
Right. What else have I got going on? I got some Rickenbacker style pickups. These aren't very exciting. These are just bobbins at this point. I guess I could have been a little bit more prepared, but these are going to go on like a Rickenbacker guitar.
Okay. Talk to me about the Rickenbacker pickup. I haven't spent a lot of time playing them. I have, and I'm kind of aware of the sound, but it's not as kind of carved into my mind as a P or a J or a Music Man, any of the Fender sounds.
The Rickenbacker, the old 60s style, was as I understand it, they were an Alnico 2 magnet.
Okay. So that's running a little colder than a Fender.
Right.
Okay.
And was with really thin wire, lots of it, which gave a somewhat brighter tone.
Okay.
And that's kind of all I know about it. And then, and then, in the 70s, they switched over to where these weren't actually magnets. These were steel poles.
Yeah.
And they would place a magnet on the bottom.
Okay.
And magnetically charged the steel poles.
Okay.
And they were wound really hot. And I think they were called high gain pickups.
Okay. But now what wire were they using? Did they bump up the wire to 43 or 44?
I think they were still using 44.
Okay.
This is just for me reading. I haven't really taken a lot of part to dissect them. People don't want you taking their old pickups apart, especially Rickenbacker.
Right. Right.
The high gains, and it's one of those things. Some people love them, some people hate them. It's just, it's strange.
I know it's a distinct sound. I just haven't personally spent a lot of time with it. The basses, they don't feel comfortable to me to play. The neck doesn't feel comfortable. The body doesn't feel comfortable.
Well, then you should not play one.
I don't. Yeah, but thanks for the affirmation.
Yeah. Rickenbacker's following is rabid.
Yeah.
It's beyond cult following. It's huge.
Absolutely.
And all they have to do now is just make the basses and guitars that they've been making.
Yeah.
And some of the greatest bass players and guitar players in the world have used them.
Mm-hmm.
Roger McGuinn and the Who and I want to say Crosby, Stills and Nash maybe, or John Fogerty.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Paul McCartney, the Beatles.
Right. Right.
They're set. Yeah. They can do it now.
Yeah, they're all right. Once you get the Beatles on board, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a nice person to have in the stands.
Right.
At the game.
Yeah, Paul. Paul who plays my bass.
Yeah, Paul, Sir Paul. So this pickup that I saw with the Music Man, the big magnets in the front, the small magnets in the back.
Yes.
That looked really intriguing to me because I had never seen that done, and it looked interesting. And I'm also really interested in the Music Man pickup when you can split it and get kind of the different sounds and get like this really throaty, super bridgy attack, on the back set of coils of a Music Man.
Yes.
And by looking at the pickup, it seemed like that would be possible with that pickup. Like, so you get the older sound, on the bridge and kind of this different, fatter thing, closer to the neck.
Yes.
And then, would you be able to marry those two? So is there like a pan knob between the two coil sets, or is it just series parallel?
On my bass, I wire it with 2 volumes.
Okay.
So you have a volume for each coil.
Yeah.
So you can have one or the other, or both in parallel.
Okay.
Which is what the original Stingray pickups were wired as in parallel.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a single coil sound.
Yeah.
And I was a big Stingray guy. For the longest time, I played a 78 Stingray, and I loved it. But then at some point, I gravitated towards the jazz bass, and I realized that I needed more mid-range in my sound.
Yeah.
The problem I had with the Stingray was, not enough of that mid-range to cut through a mix for me.
Yeah. Right.
So that stuck in my mind. And 20 years later, I started making pickups.
Yeah.
And I started buying, those kind of budget Stingrays, the subs.
Yeah.
And I started making, that's why I started making that hybrid pickup. I wanted to be able to make a pickup I could put in Stingray and run it passive.
Yeah.
And sound Stingray, but I needed that extra mid-range so I could cut through the mix.
Sure. So then how do you wind it? You wind just the back coils like a 60s jazz?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
Yes. The only difference is that the magnets are a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Shorter the magnet makes for kind of a fatter tone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The shape of the coil and the shape of the windings as they go around the magnets plays a role.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like a jazz bass, but it's a little bit thicker sounding, which I really like.
Yeah.
If you mix the two together, it's like a Music Man with a little bit more mid-range.
Did you learn all this through trial and error?
Yes.
Oof. That's a lot of. And then did you record these different things throughout? So, because you probably can't recall all the different iterations of a pickup wind. Did you record these to be able to go back and reference, or do you just make mental notes or actual written notes?
I have notes.
Yeah.
I got a book's worth of notes that I've, amassed over the years. And then I'm real lucky because I've always had gigs playing bass.
Okay.
But every pickup I've ever made, every bass pickup that is, I've been able to take a gig and try out.
Yeah.
And there's no substitute for that for me, to be able to get in a loud music situation, playing through a loud amp and hear it and hear how it mixes with the band and how it responds to the way I hit the strings,
For context, what amp are you playing?
I have a couple different amps that I use. Right now, I've been using the Quilter 800.
Okay.
The first one.
I've never played those. I was just playing with a guitar player that brings those to gigs. I like his sound, but I've never played their bass stuff.
The Quilter 800 is great.
Okay.
It's got a good thick low end. Yeah. Before that, I was using a Gallagher MB 800, which I also really like. Yeah. But that was starting to give me some intermittent problems. So
what were those? I have the 500 right now.
It would do this thing where I would plug in and I'd play some notes and it would sound kind of real low output, crackly and staticky. Mm-hmm. So I would have to turn the volume down all the way off, turn the gain knob all the way up, turn my bass up all the way and play a couple really hard notes.
Yeah. You got to shock it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, every GK I've ever owned, that just seems a thing. Because I play upright also, I had one of the, little lunchbox 112 micro bass, I think 150, and that's, you can take it to all the small jazz stuff. But yeah, that would happen, and you just had to kind of shock it, just lay into the E real quick. Okay. Kind of, like a sonic slap on the side of the head kind of, and then it pops back into shape. And I never knew what that was, but every GK I've ever had has had that thing. Well, and it's annoying.
It's a little annoying.
Yeah. That's my ad for GK, by the way. Slap it on the side of the head. Right, sorry, GK.
I have an 800 RB that, is just a tank.
Yeah. Are they still making the RB series? No, I don't know. I don't really follow them that much anymore. I liked this, the MB 500, because it had 2 channels basically. Uh-huh. So you can hit the little foot switch and I kind of have another gain structure for the other bass. Between upright and electric because of I have a piezo on the upright and that's that whole world without spending $300 or $400 on a preamp AB switch.
Right. You get into some tricky buffering.
Do you know much about that? I've been really nerding out on impedance buffering lately.
No, I mean,
I don't know anybody who, I'm not throwing you under the bus. No one really seems to know about it. Everybody knows it's a thing, and if you got a piezo, use a preamp, and they say it's because of impedance buffering, but no one can really tell me about it.
I can't really tell you much about it either.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what that stuff means. How much did you get into just electronic understanding? And did that increase your understanding of amps and your amp selection too, and how you're going to pair maybe a pickup with an amp?
No. I just make a pickup.
Okay. I like that. That's what I would do. I wouldn't. Well, I'd probably go down the rabbit hole because I'm prone to go down rabbit holes. But then I'd burn myself out and give up.
My electronic knowledge is limited.
Okay.
It's very limited. I mean, I know very little.
Yeah.
But as far as like impedance matching a piezo to a magnetic pickup, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. I know piezos are piezo. Yeah. I know it's lower, and I know you need to throw something on there.
Right. And I've done that. Like Bartolini make a magnetic piezo buffer.
Yeah.
And the people who make the Ghost saddles.
I don't know.
Oh, they do great. They're awesome. Ghost. I can't remember the name of the company that makes the Ghost saddles, but if you can remember that.
Okay. The Ghost saddle.
Ghost saddles.
Yeah.
For piezo buffering, they do a really good job.
Interesting. How much did you get into also, like, when you're building instruments, did you get into the tonal qualities of different woods as well?
Sure.
Yeah.
Your lumber plays a role.
Yeah. What'd you learn about that? Because I know that, you have the swamp ash, you have kind of these standards. The more inexpensive basses are going to use poplar. What did you learn about the tonal qualities of wood? Because you see that a lot in boutique basses, and they're, the tops look really fancy, but then the bodies are a different wood. Or necks, they'll use exotic woods on necks. And I'm always interested in just the sound more than the look.
Sure. For me, it's real basic. Like if I wanted kind of a middle of the road 60s Fender sound, I'd go with an alder body.
Yeah.
And then, in the 50s, they were making Strats out of ash. And then the 70s went back to making things out of ash.
Okay.
And ash they say, tends to be a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. But
because I'm curious about that. Is it because of how, I'm just shooting from the hip, is maybe because of how porous the wood is? If it's not as dense of a wood, it's going to be lighter. So it's more porous, going to have a more open sound because of how the vibration moves through the lighter body.
Could be. It could be.
I remember when Fender did, I forgot what year this was, maybe 2010, 08, somewhere in there. They had these P basses. The American standards and deluxes were super light.
Mm-hmm.
And they sounded like crap because it's like they lost, to me, the fundamental of a P bass. It was really light, and so it felt kind of good to play because it was so light. But they lost a lot of the sound. Like it didn't have that P bass thing to me.
Interesting.
So I kind of prefer heavier basses. Unless maybe I don't play a 6-string, but if I did play a 6-string, obviously it's for reasons of soloing. Then maybe I'd want a little bit lighter of a bass because I want it to kind of sit on top in the upper register. But if I'm just like a 4 or 5, like I kind of want a heavier bass.
You want some thump. You want more.
Yeah, I want it to be able to really be grounded with like a fat sound that's going to do some damage.
Right. I can dig that. I've always gone for the lighter basses myself, but only because I'm an old man now.
When did you start playing? You were playing clubs at 17. So how long before that did you start playing?
I started playing bass in junior high.
Okay.
And it was one of those deals where I was kind of tricked into it.
Yeah.
I think like most of us bass players.
Yeah.
You're like, one of my friends was like, "Hey, do you want to play bass in my band?" And I'm like, yeah. I don't know what that is, but sure, I'll do that.
Sure. Being in a band sounds cool. So whatever. You're like, I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of tricked into it.
Okay. And then at what point did you go from, was it that band or like one of those bands when you were playing the clubs at 17? Was it original music? Was it covers stuff?
Covers. It was all covers. Yeah.
So then at this point, you're like a working bass player. How did that transition go from just stopping by the garage to pound out some tunes with the buddies to picking up gigs?
I fell right into it.
Great.
I was just sitting in my little bedroom, and the phone rang, and these older guys, they called me and they're like, "We need a bass player. Do you want to come audition for our band and play clubs?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd like to." There'll be girls.
Yeah.
Girls go to clubs.
Sure.
Yeah. That's great.
So music and girls, fantastic.
Yeah.
What? Where was this? What state?
California.
Okay.
Orange County.
Okay.
Played all these like different little dance clubs and bars and all around Orange County.
Yeah. Is that where you're from originally?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What city down there?
I grew up in Newport Beach.
Okay.
And then later moved to Tustin.
Okay.
Which is a suburb of
just more inland. Yeah.
Yeah. Closer to Santa Ana.
Mm-hmm.
And then I lived in LA for a good long while.
Okay.
In the 2000s.
Where in LA?
Then I lived in Culver City for a couple years.
Yeah.
Venice Beach for a month.
Sure.
I lived in downtown LA in 2004.
Okay.
And then from 2006 to 2009, I lived in near Koreatown.
Okay.
Melrose and Western.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right in it right there.
And then I spent 2010, I lived in downtown LA again.
Okay. Were you playing this whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was you doing the LA shuffle?
No, I kind of through the 90s and the 2000s up to 2010, I was in a band that toured a little bit.
Okay.
So those guys kept me busy.
Nice. What band was that?
They were called Dread Zeppelin.
Okay. Nice. Was it a Zeppelin cover band?
It was a Zeppelin cover band.
I love the cover band thing. Like, I love the names. I always love the names of the cover band thing.
Oh, yeah.
When they do the play on words somehow, like I love that stuff for some reason.
Clever.
But I hate puns, but I love the cover band naming.
Nobody likes a pun.
No, I could do without it.
Unless it's me who comes up with the pun, then I think I'm the smartest guy in the world.
Yeah, well, you are. It's cool. I mean, that one was great.
That band kept me busy for quite a while, and then I always had my cover bands and things like that.
Okay, and then what point did you move to Nashville?
I moved to Nashville. I've been here for about 3 years.
Okay.
So I want to say, I guess it's 2018.
Yeah.
We moved out here.
Okay.
Sold the house in Orange County and packed it all up and brought the wife out.
Sweet.
And I love it out here.
I mean, that seems like a great spot to be for the pickup business.
That was one of the main reasons. I don't want to be disparaging towards people in LA.
Sure. But that's all right.
But getting guys from LA to Orange County was impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd rather go to Shadow Hills. You'd rather drive to Shadow Hills in Orange County.
Man, just getting people from like North Hollywood, where I used to live, to Venice, like just that 15 miles. Like people, Valley people don't go to the West Side. West Side people don't really go downtown. Everybody is so locked into their little neighborhood in LA that you can't get anybody to commute anywhere.
No.
They would rather like hop on a flight and go to Nashville, than they would to like deal with the 405 during rush hour.
Oh, the traffic out there. I'm sure it's even worse now, but
yeah. That's the only thing that's fully opened back up since the pandemic is the traffic. That's back. And I have no idea where any of them are going.
Oh, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we left. I couldn't deal with the traffic.
It's pretty daunting. It's pretty daunting, especially if you're on the West Side. There's not a lot of good ways to get out. If you live right by the 405, okay, cool. But that's your only main line to go north or south. If you have to go east, then you're just stuck on the 10.
Yeah, the 10 freeway.
Yeah, it's the worst. Right. There's only there's two major arteries to go anywhere, and well, you just got to deal with it.
Yeah,
it's pretty terrible.
Oh,
it's pretty terrible. So have you gotten plugged in with some other builders there and gotten your pickups? Are your pickups stock in any other manufacturers' instruments?
Yeah.
Okay.
I made a little list of some of the builders that I work for, and I've left it upstairs. I walk up there, but yes, since I've moved out here, I've met some other builders. Brian Barrett from Low End Jazz.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Low End, but he's an awesome guy and he makes great jazz basses.
Okay.
And he's actually 4 doors down from me.
Oh, wow.
So I see him a lot, and he's really helped me with meeting a lot of people out here.
Sweet.
I've been making pickups for another guy out here, Alien Audio, Chopper, a guy named Chopper.
Okay.
He's a great bass player, he's been around the world kind of guy. And then he settled here and started making basses. It's called Alien Audio.
Alien Audio. Is the alien like the aliens?
Yeah.
Okay. Just spelling wise.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've hooked up with Dennis Fano out here for Novo guitars.
Mm-hmm.
You know Dennis Fano?
No, not personally. But
okay. Well, he's amazing.
Sweet.
His designs are so great.
Yeah.
He's got a new company. He sold Fano. Started a new company called Novo, and he's been just developing some basses, and I've been working on the pickups for that.
Cool.
Which has been great.
Yeah. And then I also, on the website, you also do just custom order pickups.
I do a lot of custom ordering for people. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, will have, like weird spacing. Like I got 16.5 millimeter spacing on my 6-string bass.
Right.
So I'm able to accommodate just about any spacing for people.
Okay.
Which is great.
Yeah. I think that's why I didn't know if the Music Man pickup that I had initially saw would fit in my bass. I think there was something, I'd have to go back and look or remeasure, but I think that the measurements were off.
Oh yeah.
I think, I don't know. Or maybe just Dan Lakin told me it wouldn't fit. Cause I'm modding out a Lakeland I have, and I'm just turning it into a complete, 5-string. And it was the year that they went from Bartolini's to building their own. So it's all still Bartolini. I'm assuming like Bartolini spacing and Bartolini pickup cavity, which knowing Dan, probably it's just straight up Music Man.
Yeah.
Like it's all stock Music Man sizing. But I remember him telling me, he's like, dude, that won't fit in your bass. I'm like, all right, well, this is your company. So I figured you'd know. But I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's bullshitting me.
I can tell you, I've made a lot of pickups for Lakeland basses.
Okay.
That 5-string cover and the jazz bass cover.
That's exactly what I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Works. No shame towards Dan, but I'll call him later and I'll personally.
Yeah, just
set him straight. Yeah, I'm going to set him straight. Yeah. But it will fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you got a ruler, measure, and we can double check.
Yeah. But because I'm still really interested in that. And actually, that one you just showed me with the oval magnets, like putting that in the jazz, like I'm going to send the body off to MJT and have them just refinish it.
Nice.
I'm going to bastardize the whole bass because I like projects.
We men like our projects.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. If I think about how many things in my life I'm doing just because I like the project of it.
There's a lot to be said for that, Nick. Good and bad.
Good and bad. If it gets finished, it's good. If it doesn't, then it's bad.
And then it's bad.
Yeah, then it's bad.
You gotta, as we get older, we need to prioritize things in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've learned about, like when I first started, when I got off the road, stopped kind of playing, I was doing repairs, pickup winds, rewinding pickups for people, and build instruments. And then I would go to every music store I could go to meet people.
Yeah.
Trying to do all these things. And I realized like I couldn't do it all.
Yeah.
Right. I had to let a lot of stuff go.
Sure.
And that's what really helped, it helps keep me on track for making pickups. Was
the decision to settle on making pickups because like that's the fundamental love and curiosity in the whole process? Like that's the thing that kind of got you hooked. And so you just want to stick with
it's what I like doing the best.
Yeah.
I like making pickups a lot. It suits my kind of like wanting to get things done in a day mentality.
Right. Like quick turns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Also pickups, from a practical standpoint, they're this big. They fit in a priority mailbox.
Right.
Priority box.
Yeah.
As opposed to a big giant box, with peanuts and
yeah, the whole thing. Right. A bunch of bubble wrap. So are your pickups compatible with preamps to run active also?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is any pickup compatible with a preamp to be active?
Yes.
Okay. So that has to do with the preamp, not the pickup.
Yes.
Okay.
And most preamps, a good preamp will have a little gain, maybe a little gain trim pot on the inside that you can adjust in case there is some distortion.
Okay. When hooking up the preamp to the pickup?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Interesting.
But most of the time, you don't even need that. Most of those most preamps today have so much headroom, they'll never distort.
Some of them are pretty hot, like the 18 volt. I've had a couple bases with 18 volt preamps. They're just running super hot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little too much.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
I've had a few guitar player friends with EMGs, and they're like, I put 3 batteries in there. I'm going 18 volts.
That's yeah. I mean, that's just like, you might as well just have an extension cord and plug it right into the wall.
Yeah. Just, what do you want to plug it right in the cabinet?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. Cool. So what's next for the company? You're putting the pickups in the bases, like, so you're already kind of linked up that way. You're doing special orders. How close are you to getting a team together and cranking these out a little faster? Are you interested in that, or do you like kind of realizing it all yourself from start to finish?
I would love to get the team together. And I've been thinking about that a lot, and there's a lot of, plates to be spinning at that point.
Sure. Are you nervous about kind of sharing your secrets a little bit, or like letting too many people know what happens in the workshop?
No, I'm not too worried about it.
Okay.
I would, if anything, I would like to be able to share what I know with others.
Sure.
And to be able to, be helpful. And, I've been really lucky in my years. I've had some people in my life that really helped me out in terms of guitars. Kerry Nordstrom, great pickup builder and a great fella. He's really helped me.
Okay.
Like I can still call him.
Did you guys work together, like on putting designs together, or did you work for him and what he's doing? No. Okay.
Friends.
Cool.
Just friends. And like I said, kind of mentored me over the years. Doc Patullo has been a great mentor to me. Another guitar builder, the guy who I used to watch wine pickups, this guy named Bill Antel.
Okay.
I watch him on, and because those guys would give me some of their time, I feel like it would be nice for me to be able to do that for others.
Yeah, pay it forward.
I would like to have I'm getting to where I'd like to have a team or a couple guys that would come work for me.
Sure.
Then again, I do like being in control of everything.
Sure.
Every aspect,
I think there's something when it's your baby and you started the whole thing, and it's so personal. It's difficult to relinquish or delegate, some of the tasks, because you're so invested to every aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's always, like I get a little separation anxiety about, like, if I'm going to have someone do podcast editing for me, or like turn over the graphics or any aspect of either the podcast or the educational part of the website. I get a little bit like, but it's got to be like this, or it's got to do this. or like this is the thing, because you spent so much time on it and everything is intentional that you don't want to lose any of the work you've already put in.
That's right.
I can definitely understand that.
Oh yeah. And, no one's going to care about your project like you.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, a good thing or a bad thing,
right. Yeah. Where do guys learn? Is this the process of learning pickup design is just like working with someone already doing it and just kind of come up by being an apprentice? Or are they teaching this anywhere at trade schools, or I don't even know where they would teach pickup design or winding or construction?
There's guitar building schools. I know, MI is a guitar course.
I always think of just acoustic instruments when I think of guitar building, or I think about like dealing with the bodies and the necks. I don't think about like actually constructing the pickups.
Well, I think there are parts of their course, like they'll have a day. Like today, we're going to wind your pickups for the instruments you're building for your class.
Yeah.
I think there is some rudimentary basic ideas.
Okay.
Taught in those schools. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name all of a sudden. there's a pickup builder who made a guitar pickup building book.
Oh.
And I bought that book and I learned a lot from that. Oh gosh, it'll come to me in a minute.
Okay.
You know, you're old and you can't remember.
How old are you?
51.
51. Oh man, that's not that bad. You know, You're doing good.
Tell that to my feet.
How's the back holding up? Like, are you just like hunched over a workbench all the time?
No, back's fine.
Okay,
back's good. I tell you, I'm in the best shape I think I've ever been.
Good.
I feel really good. And
cool.
I get out of bed and I feel great.
All right. Do you exercise regularly?
No.
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 Love the honesty. Yeah, I don't either. You know, I just don't make time for it. I probably should.
I work.
Yeah, that's enough.
You know, I play gigs.
You still playing?
Yeah, still play every now and then.
Okay.
A couple times a month now.
What kind of projects?
The main thing I do now is this wedding band. We do a lot of wedding gigs, corporate gigs.
Okay.
Which is good enough for me because it's actually a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are fun for that. And you get to get into, you know, really masking the bass line on Uptown Funk, but then you have to learn, you know, really cop into the Mystic too.
Yeah.
You have to go a lot of places all within 4 hours.
Yep.
That part's fun.
I love being able to cop like synth-based tones and things like that. And,
okay.
You know, play funky stuff.
What's your effects game like? You have a pedal board? You do the effects?
I do.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me go back. I'll show it to you if I can figure out how to do this.
I just saw this Electro Harmonics bass synth pedal. It's called like the Mono 1 or something. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. It's a pedal I had never seen before.
This is my pedal board.
Okay.
That's my snack. So I start with this thing, the Source Audio C4.
Okay.
Which is all my synth-based tones.
Nice.
And then I go to this whammy pedal, which I use for octaver and chorus.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a wah-wah pedal.
Okay. How often do you use that?
What's that?
How often do you use that?
Not very often, but we play a Justin Timberlake song that has a lot of wah-wah bass on it.
I Got the Feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Use it for that. And the YYZ pedal, which I just love. But then I use, this is my DI, $60 DI.
Sure. Just radial. Dude, those are the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that little guy next to that? Yeah.
This is a mixer.
Okay.
It allows me to plug a synthesizer into my amp if I need.
Okay.
And then this is just for thickening up the vocal.
Okay.
That's for my microphone.
Okay. So you're singing too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Not very much, but I sing a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never got into that. I decided to stay away for everybody else's sake. I stayed away from
everybody's thing.
What's your next gig? What do you got coming up? It's the summer. This is like weddings are happening. Things are opening up. People are.
I'm off this weekend.
Okay.
And I'm playing the following weekend.
Cool.
Weddings.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. You just show up at the address.
Yeah.
That's how weddings work for me. Like you get the address, you know, basically what bass to bring and what time load in is. I know very little and I prefer not knowing a lot.
You're better off.
Yeah. Like let me know what bass to bring and like, you know, an idea of some tunes we're doing and let's see what happens.
You got charts. Charts are great. Just yeah.
Yeah, charts are good. Charts are good. There's a corporate band I work with where like there's no charts. And so like it's remembering like 200 tunes from like old Louis Armstrong stuff to like some kind of deep soul cuts. This guy doesn't do the standard wedding band repertoire, which makes it fun because it's something else. But it's a bunch of stuff to memorize, which I'm not great at that. I'm not great at memorizing tunes.
Do you make your own charts?
I hack out some like little scratches, you know.
Okay.
If it's sometimes all I need is enough of like, if I remember it as, you know, the artist and like, oh yeah, that's this one, you know, I'm blanking on the guy's name right now. whatever. I'll think of the artist and like, that's his tune in E. And then I'm like, okay, right now I got it.
Uh-huh.
I need just super quick little reminders, because if he just turns around and calls a tune, I'll look at the guitar player like, which one's that? Oh yeah, cool. So I'm trying to cut that out so I don't get yelled at. That's all I do. Bring the right bass and avoid getting yelled at. I feel like that's a full-time job right there. That's what I'm being paid for, is to not get yelled at.
Oh my gosh. Being yelled at on stage is terrible.
Yeah, that is the worst. That is the worst. Yeah. So how deep do you get into the effects and the electronics of the effects then? Because if you're really minded, you're thinking about the electronics and the pickups and the signal chain and all that. Like, I noticed some of those pedals I had never seen before on your pedal board. So it seems like those are some particular things.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the main goal there is to kind of recreate synthesizer bass sounds.
Okay.
Like 24 karat gold.
Yeah.
That's like a mini mode sound.
Right.
Then we play some Michael Jackson tunes like Billie Jean, with that real super sub dubby kind of, it's almost like a sine wave.
Yeah.
Or filtered off square wave kind of.
How did they record that? I've never read about the session on that. I mean, I know the bass line, but I've never read about how they recorded bass on any of that.
I don't know. I as far as Thriller goes, I don't know. I know I was producing.
Right.
And I don't know. I think John Robinson was the drummer, and Louis Johnson might have been the bass player on that, but I don't.
Right. Yeah, I haven't read up too much about it. I mean, although like most of us, we have to play a lot of the record regularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that much about it for having to have played it as much as I have.
Right.
Yeah.
And what the other thing I can't figure out is like, what is bass line and what is synthesizer, and.
Yeah, that kind of starts to get, around Stevie, when Stevie would like kind of duplicate the bass lines. I had to read about that. And it's specifically All I Do. Me and a piano player used to sit around and he's like, no, man, that's Stevie playing. I'm like, dude, the way what those shapes are, like how that lays on the bass, like that's a bass line. Like, no, man, that's definitely Stevie. And so I had to figure that out. And what I learned was we were both right, which was Nathan Watts would write the bass lines for Stevie to play. So they're written on bass, but then Stevie would play them on a synth.
Wow.
Yeah. So like, both my friend Matt was correct with like, yeah, just sonically, that's the synth. I'm like, okay, but like what he's playing, that's how a bass player would play. That's how we move our hands. Like that's bass player stuff. And so both are accurate. And so Nathan Watts kind of ghost wrote a lot of those bass lines.
Would that be the same as Reggae Woman?
Probably. And then that's, I would assume so. That's like such an active bass part, but there's a lot of it that, like all that activity seems to be Stevie, know, but I think the main framework of it was probably Nathan.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a great one. That's a great bass line. Oh, yeah. Just like that opening kind of triad line, like that's a bass player thing for sure. Like that, you can see just that pattern through a ton of, Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles. It's the same thing. Gotcha. It's the same feel. Cool, man. Talk about the website and other platforms where everybody can learn more about what you're up to.
Well, my website is terrible. It's terrible. I'm not very computer savvy, and I've always kind of relied on different friends to kind of help me with that stuff. And I hate to bug them. Sure. So my website is really sorely in need of some updating, and I'll get to that that'll be done someday. Okay. Best thing to do if you need to get in touch with me is to find me on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot of my business through Facebook Messenger. Okay. Just crazy, Yeah. How many unread messages do you have right now? Like, because I would assume they're just piling up all the time. I probably have, I got about 4 right now.
Okay, that's not too bad. I think I have 3 or 4, and I didn't even know. None of them were work. They're just friends I haven't responded to.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too. Yeah. We're I'm not dead yet. But yeah, I do a lot of stuff, a lot of messaging on Facebook Messenger. A lot of business goes through that.
Okay.
I try to avoid being on the phone and things like that, because when I'm on the phone, that means I have to, direct all my attention to the telephone and I can't work.
Sure. Yeah, you can kind of always multitask when there's a messaging thing involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Or for some reason, everybody wants to talk to me at dinner time. and dinner time's kind of sacred. So at least I can message, but sure. I don't want to on the phone, eating a meal with my wife at a restaurant. Right. Oh, your pickup's so fun. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid the phone.
Cool.
Only for practical reasons.
Sure. Cool. So Facebook's the best place to track you down. Cool.
I have an Instagram account, which is basically just pictures of pickups and food.
Okay.
And the occasional dog.
Do you cook?
No.
No. All right.
I just eat out.
Yeah. All right. Good. Good.
Yeah. I'm on the eternal search for the best burritos out here in Tennessee.
What's the main cuisine over there? Like, what is it?
A lot of barbecue.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of barbecue. Thing called meat and three.
Okay. What is that?
You get a meat dish.
Yeah.
And then 3 sides. Okay. Which would be like collard greens, black-eyed peas, macaroni cheese, I don't know, coleslaw, it'll be like stuff.
Yeah, just normal side stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hot roast or grilled catfish, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Meat and three is pretty popular out here. Barbecue. And then a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A lot of, Asian, a lot of Indian.
Sure. I love Indian food.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorites.
It's crazy good.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just like so flavorful, but always like pretty heavy. And that's also because I just indulge myself and just eat till I can't anymore because it's so flavorful. So it's a commitment. If I'm going Indian, like that's, that's not like a meal and then like go out afterward. Like that's the night. Like I'm doing Indian food tonight.
Right.
And I'm just laid out for the rest of the night. Like there's not much else going on after Indian food happens. Dude, thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having me. This has been a kick.
This has been great. I'm gonna email you through Messenger, and I want the pickup. I want to see if it fits. I'm gonna send you dimensions because I want to see if that Music Man will fit in this Lakeland.
Yes,
and see what maybe about that neck pickup too. I want some new stuff in here.
Yeah. We'll get her going. I just the measurements.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any in stock?
No.
That's probably good.
Yeah, I generally don't stock a lot of stuff just because I everything's custom orders and I make things as I get orders.
Right, and if you can turn them out so fast, you could just be like, great, I'll put it in the mail, tomorrow or the next day.
Ordered at any given time.
Yeah,
usually for 3 weeks wait.
How long?
2 to 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. It's not bad. That'd be like ordering through Amazon if you don't have Prime.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like normal shipping options.
I think so.
Yeah. Cool, dude. Man, it was great. We'll stay in touch.
You have a great day.
All right. You too, Howard. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was my talk with Howard Ulyate. And what I found fascinating was the mixture of the elements that make up the magnets that go into the pickups. That and the Alnico, the different numberings of the Alnico. That was interesting to me. Also, the construction of the Rickenbacker pickup. That was fascinating to me. In addition to the length of the magnet having an impact on the sound. All that stuff was really, really fascinating to me. And now, like, I'm the nerd who's basically going to be like, when looking at pickups, like, what is it? What kind of wire are you using? Like, I'm gonna end up at some point probably going down that rabbit hole, and it's just going to be like the whole day spent on bumming around the internet, checking out everybody's pickups, seeing what kind of wire they use, because apparently I have nothing else to do with my life. was a great time. It was a great time with Howard. And Howard, thank you again. If you are enjoying this episode or would like to hear more, you can subscribe to the Base Shed Podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. I'm also on Facebook, /The Base Shed, Instagram @The Base Shed, Twitter @Base Shed. You can connect in all those ways. Join the mailing list. I'm going to be shooting out the email blast coming up here probably this week with some new things that have been happening. I reformatted the site, and so I'm ready to release that. And I'm working on some new transcriptions, a collection of double bass solos, and some new electric things too. All that will be in the email of what's coming up transcription wise. So you can sign up for the newsletter at thebaseshed.com. And that's about all I got, folks. That's all I got on this one. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you on the next one in a minute.